There we go. So I think that's what I think, Chris. When you asked about the question, like how people, I don't care. I just tell the truth. I mean, I just speak my heart. I just feel whatever I feel. I don't have this filter, which is not the right thing to do every time, but I feel like I can be okay with it for myself. It might not be okay with other people. But what do you think? How do you see, do you think is it okay to do that? Being straightforward with people?
I think, like you said, there are times for it and there are times maybe not for it. So we talked about this in a previous episode, right? Putting everything in balance. So I think, yeah, there's
Correct. Yeah.
definitely times and places where it's good to be straightforward. Maybe other times and places to be diplomatic, but at the same time, you have to be conscientious and not to put yourself into a prison where you're afraid to say this or afraid to say that because that can be a burden in and of itself, right? Having things unsaid or not setting boundaries or to being too conflict avoidant. So I think there's definitely a balance, right, between being direct and being strategically perhaps indirect or just conscientious, right?
Okay.
Say for
We'll
example
take it.
with your parents, right? I mean, sometimes they'll annoy you a lot, but you can't say too much. They're your parents. You
Yeah.
gotta respect and
That's right. Yeah. I miss.
And you wanna write it down. Would it kill you just to listen? And you wanna sell it out with the words out of your position. Hold on. And you wanna see the break of dawn. Brush your hair back from your face. You won't see me when
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Every Degree Matters. I hope you guys are doing well. And there's another episode brought to you by Chris and Saffron. So, hi, Chris. What's happening?
hey, Saffron, same old. How are you? How was
Yeah.
your weekend?
What's the. My weekend was okay. I was pretty busy. I was fully packed. I wasn't enjoying it. So, I was
Uh,
doing a lot of things going around.
not the right
Yeah.
kind of busy.
No, 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 no. Not the kind of busy that you think, but no, I was
I wasn't
laser
going there, but
focused. Oh, come on. Look, the audience are going to be like, what is this guy's talking? Well, let's give an last weekend. No, the weekend, last weekend, right? Not the weekend was the last. How do we say that? Okay, whatever the English word you can put it in. So the weekend before, I had a great weekend. I was going out with my friends, having fun, partying, and then Chris is thinking, assuming when I say that I am I had a great weekend, he thinks that I was having going out and doing partying. But no, Chris, no, guys, I didn't do anything like that. I was just laser focused on building myself and working.
Yeah, dedication. I like it. I think
Well,
my weekend was a little bit
what do you
less
guys
laser
think?
focused, unfortunately. I just
Oh yeah. Oh, I heard you were in and out of town. You went somewhere, right?
yeah, yeah, it was my girlfriend's birthday at the end of
What
last
did you
week.
get her?
So what did I get her? Food.
Come on, you cheap bastard.
Hey,
You just
I
bought
didn't
her
say it was
food?
cheap food.
Oh, okay. Did you take it to a Michelin star restaurant?
No, but I did buy an assortment of foods that she likes that are a little bit expensive in Thailand,
Oh,
so it's not
food
like an
is
everyday
okay.
thing. But the thing is, right? If I buy like
What do you eat?
jewelry, there's no guarantee she's gonna like it or wear it. So why
Oh, it's
spend
not
all this
guaranteed she's gonna
money?
be there with you forever.
Sorry,
It's not also guaranteed that she's gonna be there. You be with you forever.
Eh, but
Hey, nothing in life is guaranteed, right?
nothing's guaranteed. But what is guaranteed is that good food is good. So,
Oh, okay. So,
um,
what do you guys eat?
um,
Tell the audience what you eat so people can go and eat. But which restaurant did you go to? Like, is it a popular restaurant?
No, so we
Oh,
didn't
is it like a
go to any restaurant, but I bought like an assortment of cheeses
oh at
and
the
wine
house?
and
Oh,
things
Jesus.
to pair
Oh,
with that.
oh.
Uh,
Okay. Did you get red wine or
yeah,
Sauvignon Blanc?
red. I mean, I'm not much of a wine expert at all, but it was good. It
Okay.
was a good red wine. It's from France. So I took a little bit of
Okay.
time to pick it out, but I don't really know wine so well. But it turned out good, surprisingly.
Okay. Good. Good. Good.
Um,
All right, gang. So we had some good positive feedback and negative feedback on the last podcast we did regarding Gaza and Israel. So we thought of doing another podcast and the continuation and where are we with the situation and be more focused on getting what we think And we are neither experts or anyone. We are just, pundits talking stuff. But of course, this is our view, and you can always take it, leave it, guys. It's up to you. We are not forcing anyone, and yeah. So that's we just wanted to put that disclaimer in the front because people might always think, oh, this is not. This guys, they don't have any background to talk about it. Yes, we don't have any background to talk about it, but we are also aware of what is happening. So we are not like we do have the knowledge and stuff that we have accumulated in the past years of working in different sectors. So anyway, so Chris, I think you're gonna take over and let's go.
All right,
Let's
sir.
see.
Sir Saffron, got it. So, yeah, as Saffron said, we talked about this heavy topic last week of the issue in Palestine with the starvation and the accusations of genocide and all of the difficult things happening there surrounding that issue. So we wanted to kind of spend more time to talk about that because it deserves more time and there's still a lot to discuss. We wanted to explore some of what we discussed again, and maybe in a bit more detail, and kind of get more to the core of some of these issues. So, if that's okay, Saffron, I'd like to start maybe some questions to you.
Yeah, shoot at me. Shoot right at me. Shoot your questions.
Got it. So, to start, right? Last week you addressed the religious root of the conflict between Israel and Palestine regarding what group of people has a divine right, so to speak, to the Holy Land. And the other day, you then shared an article with me. It was very interesting that details from a Quranic perspective how the Holy Land belongs to the righteous servants of God. Even in the Bible, you can see in Psalm 37:29, it states that the righteous shall inherit the land and dwell therein forever. And I believe the land they're referring to in this context is Israel. So, can you
Correct.
elaborate a little bit on this a little bit and why you think this historical root is important to the conflict?
Well, the historic root why it is important is that, like you all know, Moses, right? Moses was, if we go back in history, he was but Torah was derived to was given to Moses, and it was his people, right, who came in first, had the land, and that's why. And then it says in the Bible and then the Quran, there's reflection. The whole land has been again. God has, in my view, but after reading the Quran, the Bible, and the Torah, it always says righteous people at that time. So at this period of time, I believe the Jewish people are the righteous people. I believe that, but I don't know. I can't be right. I'm not a god. I'm not a saint or anyone to decide this. And at the same time, people, as after reading all this, believe that people in Palestine or in the West Bank, maybe they don't deserve it right now, according to the texture of God's words. It's not my words, so it's not your words. It's given by God. And at the same time, God says in the end it will be the people of Muhammad, Prophet Muhammad, who will be living there. And that's why I always, when I talk about, is that we will have all the generation, all the religions are connected. It's not in, it's all intertwined, especially Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. There's always a connection in between.
Right.
And like you rightly so pointed out, that they also say about this righteous land. And God has also kept it vague so that people also fight about this land, because that's also another way to test the people by God, whether how religious they are, or are they being a good servant of God. So
Yeah,
that's
so
my
just so if I understand correctly, are you stating that the fact that recent history hasn't necessarily been in favor of the Palestinians points to the fact that they're not on the righteous side, or am I misunderstanding?
correct. Yeah, I feel like they are not on the righteous side
Right.
of God, in the view of God.
In the view of God.
I'm not.
Okay.
It's my. I'm not. I can't speak for anyone. It's
Right.
just what I think.
Mm. And so you also mentioned, I think in the last podcast, your concerns about where Israel and is ultimately going to stand, excuse me, and where the United States is ultimately going to stand on quote unquote the right side of history. So if you think that perhaps Israel and the United States is veering away from that path of righteousness, is the favor then going to turn to the Palestinians, or how does that work?
No, in terms of godly, I don't know. I mean, you always, at the end of the day, it is about God decides it, right? And God is above all the power. And if people in Palestine really wanted the support of God, I think they all should pray and be more religious people and follow the principles of Islam, not the extremist ideology. God never had extremist ideology, which what they're doing, and which what they're doing, like now, for example, Hamas or anyone, it's all sinful. It's not the
Right.
right thing that they're doing.
So
And also we can put that as well in the sides of Israeli as well. So I'm not just pointing at one person, but I'm more comfortable talking about Palestinians because they also represent the religion where I come from. So which also is easy for me to point the finger at them at my own rather than also pointing the finger at someone else. So I feel like in terms of the righteousness, I feel like maybe if they be more religious, maybe if they be more devoted Muslims, then they could cite the blessing of God, and then God might help them to be in the righteous land, or maybe also be in living together between the Judaism, the Christianity, and the Muslims.
right. So I mean, you're saying that because your community is Muslim, you feel a bit more comfortable kind of pointing the finger there, just as it's your community, right?
Correct. Yes.
Right. And so I'm also curious. So I mean, I think a lot of, from what I've seen at least, a lot of people in Gaza, they do pray. They are God fearing good people, as is the majority. And I think probably the same is the case with the Israelis. I mean, the majority of them are probably great people. I think that's universal, right? Across society, the majority, I would argue, of people are good. So
Well,
just because we
there's
have
two
a
different.
few bad apples, right? Does God collectively punish us for the
Sometimes he does. Sometimes he does. He does collectively punish, and sometimes God can also be. They might be good people, but they might not be following the principles of Islam. So there's two different things, right? You can be a good person, but they are not following the principles of Islam. And the principle of Islam is a how they are doing this extremist jihadism. It's completely bullshit. It's completely bullshit. They don't know what they're doing at all. And killing another person is the least option. What God has said. It's not just going, but like what happened in October 7th. Completely stupid, not completely wrong in terms of how, as a Muslim, it's completely wrong to kill another human being. Period. There is no discussion after it. There's rules and laws set how you can do it. You cannot kill an unharmed soldier. You cannot kill an unarmed person. You can't. And also there are rules and regulations of Islamic way of fighting, which has like 3 steps. A, you talk. B, you negotiate. And the last resort, you fight. But how you fight? You go to a battlefield and fight. You don't hide behind people. So what Hamas is doing right now is that they are hiding behind people. They have
right?
built tunnel system.
Right.
They have built a lot of system and structure where they're putting their people in danger.
They certainly
And
are,
God,
but you can also argue, right, that to go to a battlefield, you need an army and you need a battlefield. And I would say that in the case of Hamas, it's not a real army. They don't have any space for a battlefield, so to speak. I mean, they are sort of forced to be a resistance group in a sense, no?
well, you can be a resistant group. Again, I point out to an argument: did the Nelson Mandela's the apartheid movement, right? Did they have guns? Did they take violence? No. He was all peaceful. So you can also be a resistant and be peaceful. You don't
Right.
have to take weapons to your hand. So what you're saying is that they don't have battlefield. Yes. So what constitute right now is that only the soldiers should be in the front line fighting, not putting kids and children and women. Well, I think it's the same. Putting women and kids and children in the front, and as a
Right.
shield. Not like particularly as shield. I'm not talking they're lining them up, but I'm just saying putting them in vulnerable situation, right? Putting them in a situation where they are getting killed is wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I
You can't
don't
just.
think anybody denies that Hamas has put its people in harm's way. But you could also say, like, if they were to fight fair, openly, and honestly, they would certainly be destroyed very fast. I mean, given the imbalance of power between Israel and Hamas.
Going back, then why didn't Hamas accept the plan in 2009 given by Ehud Umar, the prime minister? Why didn't they in 2008? Why didn't they accept the land? They were ready to give 100% of Gaza and then 96% of West Bank.
Mm.
And then why didn't they accept it?
Right.
So that's my argument. Like,
Um,
why wouldn't you accept? So, is your ultimate motive to kill the Jewish people and let them get vanished? Then you're never going to get peace here. You can't get the peace. Right now, what I believe is that you have to be complicit. You have to be on how to stop people dying in both sides. People are just dying. Innocent people are dying for no value of cause. There is no outcome. What is going to happen? I mean, let's say if they end up having a two-state, under the which border agreement they're going to get this two-state? The settlements are expanding in West Bank. I'm not denying that. So they're going to lose a lot of land in West Bank. Gaza, it's a big question, right? So they should have taken it in 2008. The latest thing, they should have taken it 2008 from whatever they offered, because at least there you stop the people dying.
so I think we could probably go on this question for a long time. So I just, maybe just want to wrap it up. But I wanted to ask one
Okay.
last thing about the kind of the God side of things, right? So if it comes out at the end of the day that Israel has 100%, no questions asked, committed genocide in Gaza, and do you believe that they're going to no longer be quote unquote the righteous servants of God, and that they've kind of lost their claim to the Holy Land, so to speak, or
Well, it also depends. God also says that God will also give you anything and everything and test you. So right now, maybe the Jewish people, or
are
people
being
in
tested?
Israel, are being
Yeah.
tested from by God if they're true believer of God. So God gives you everything. Two ways God can treat you, right? So once you get closer to Him every day, He treats you. He tests you, right? He gives you more tough, what do you call, situations in life, and where you will be like, okay, you know what? He tests your resilient being a religious person, right?
Okay.
And the other way a God can test you is that give everything and see what you play around,
Yeah,
and
well,
then
I mean,
at
at
the
least in
end
this
you'll be like,
perspective, right, it doesn't absolve you of responsibility just by saying, well, it's all in God's hands. So you're saying, like, God gives you the challenge. You have to take responsibility for the situation, et cetera, et cetera.
that's right. Because as I always believe that that's the reason God has, if you are a believer of God, that's why God has given five senses for animals, and humans have the sixth sense, because the sixth sense is the one that self creates and self thinks.
Interesting. Yeah, it's certainly
Yeah,
an
it's a
interesting
scientific proven.
way to look at it. And myself, I don't have much of a background in religious studies and stuff, so it's always interesting to hear from others' perspectives on the matter. But moving on, I wanted to ask as well. Last week, and the viewers recall, we were talking about a bit about Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and the issue potentially with some far right people in the Prime Minister's cabinet, right? But just from a surface level, though, disregarding whoever occupies Netanyahu's cabinet, I want to just
Mm-hmm.
recall as well that Netanyahu himself, he's a fugitive of the International Criminal Court, and as the prime minister, right, he bears the ultimate responsibility of the actions of his country, regardless of who fills his cabinet. And I would also argue that he's quite far right himself, from what I understand in the statements he's made and his policies. And going back even to 2023, he's been quoted as saying the place Hamas operates and hides in will become piles of rubble. And it has become that. So Gaza has been reduced to rubble in what I can only really describe as a form of collective punishment. And we just mentioned, right, that sometimes God might conduct collective punishment. You can take that as you will, but I would argue this case is certainly a case of collective punishment. So I'm interested to hear more from your point of view about Netanyahu's responsibility for the conflict and his role in the conflict.
Well, first of all, the Israeli government has completely failed in intelligence service on the October 7th. They should be taken accountability for letting that happen and letting that window open for them to come out, Hamas to come and just have this barbaric thing happening on 7th of October. And that's one thing. And I think in terms of, I mean, any politician would talk a lot and for their points, so I don't want to go into whatever they said. Well, it could be validating sometimes, or daunting to speak like, oh, he's outrageous, he's talking about it. And you can also see, put your shoes in their feet and see how are they reacting. Like 1,200 people killed, barbarically. A lot of things happen, and then he is in pressure from his own people, and then also he has a far right government within his cabinet to also has his expansion of Israel, or getting up more land in West Bank, or also in Gaza. As the prime minister, I think he should take the accountability for letting this happen, and then also at the same time for not bringing back the hostages. He now talks about even if he has to sacrifice the hostages, I'm okay to go and fully wipe out Hamas. So that's something that I would be concerned of, because 20 to 20 people are still in captive. Their lives do matter as much as any other lives in world. And what I think is that he is also trying to avoid his time in jail, or his time in his scandal that's going on in bribery and things like that. He's trying to avoid that, and still by being in power. It's a typical politician, anywhere in the world you go, that's what they do. They always say Israel is a democracy in the Arab countries, but they all have blood in their hand. Like, they all have problems, they all have stuff that is happening, they all have something that they wanted to get rid of. The power is the most wishful thing
I'm sorry, the most
for any
wishful?
the most wishful element in life that could make you do crazy things. If you have that in your mind, it's all about having power, you will do most wishful things
Yeah,
to still
so
have that.
I think that's an interesting because people are so quick to judge those that hold power as immoral and whatever, but then those same
No,
people,
it's
once
not
you give them power, they're likely going to be this much the
the
same because
same. Yeah, of course.
People
Yes,
are weak,
people
and
are weak. That's what God
yeah, I
tells,
mean that,
people always
and you
weak.
said
That's what
like
it
put
says.
yourself in other people's shoes. So for starters, I don't envy Netanyahu's position. I don't envy the position, anyone's position, where they have to make that kind of a decision. So easy to judge, easy to criticize, of course, and it's also easy to judge and criticize people with positions of power because power corrupts, and that's just the nature of corruption, and people are weak. But it does not absolve people of their responsibility, correct? It doesn't mean they should not be held accountable or we should not strive for improvement, no?
Well, also, how do you see the accountability? I mean, power could blind you in any aspect, right? People, when power is in front of you, I was just talking to you about the cartoon character King Julian. The whole idea was power, right? He always talks about being powerful, to be the king of this whole imagination, right? But still, he is. For guys who don't know what we're talking about, we're talking about King Julian. I don't know, does series, and he's part of the Madagascar team. So me and Chris was talking about it before we started the pod, and then I was sharing a couple of clips, and we're talking about that. So that bringing back it is that the power, because of the power, he goes to what extent he wants to do that could blind you in a lot of good things, even if you're good at heart. So again, going back to your quote, is that we were talking about it. I said, but Netanyahu could be a great guy. He could be a great guy, but he can also be, he also wants power. So power could blind you being the good person in human, and it always blinds good things in a human, in a person.
Which
In
is
terms,
sad.
which is sad. And in terms of going back that international criminal court, I don't, I mean, I love, as much as I love international processes and processes, I feel like they have tremendously failed in the past 20 years. Since the collapse of the Soviet Union, they have completely failed on trying to bring people together. And I also believe that a lot of people, a lot of countries and people have avoided, the ICJ. So I mean, look, Putin is being wanted by ICJ, but what if they want to make a deal with Ukraine? Everybody's going to come here. Like on Friday, President Trump is meeting with him in Alaska. So I'm pretty sure Macron, pretty sure Ursula, the European Union, everybody's going to be here. So I mean, well, you're going to arrest him? No, they got to make the deal, because people have to be stopped dying. So that's what I think. I
Yeah, I
think
mean in that case,
Netanyahu could be a great guy, and he could be blinded by power and being, and also avoiding bribery, something related to some
well, he's had corruption charges
charges,
brought against
corruption
him, right?
charges. Yes, yeah, at the local court in Israel.
But yeah, but ultimately, I think what I wanted to get at was he still bears responsibility for the misconducts of. I think there's not really much of a debate at this point about the fact there has been misconduct in this conflict, and every side bears some responsibility, and it falls on the leadership. No,
That's right. Yeah, every side has responsibilities. Every side, like we went to Iraq, we went to Afghanistan. We didn't have we just left without any responsibility. We went to Syria, we went to Libya. We destroyed a lot of countries. America destroyed a lot of countries in this world. And where are we? I mean, we get escaped, like we just been annihilated. And then what happens? We went to Iraq, weapons of mass destruction, bullshit. We didn't have anything over there. They went to Afghanistan for no reason.
yeah,
And disastrous leave by the Biden
was a
administration.
disaster.
Jesus,
Yeah,
it was a disaster. Like it's just a mayhem after
but
$8 trillion
at what
wasted, and then
point
you give back to.
does this cycle of inaccountability end? Like, I just see we keep
Well,
cycling and cycling, cycling, mistake, 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 and then
that's I'll let you know how. Well, the accountability ends when we stop having when our let's put it this way, our GDP is no more dependent on weapons distribution, weapon manufacturing. The point where the US economy is more reliant on other things, it's where we will stop having
yeah,
we,
actually
we
an interesting point because
because
people benefit
let me
from
finish.
conflict.
Yeah, people benefit, but at the same time, if you look at the military industrial complex, they rule this world, right? And if you look at from 30, 50 years ago, there were like 30 companies or 40 companies of military industrial complex that does weapons and ammunition. Now we only have five. So they have all have a connected to each other, and they only have five now. So in that way, I think that, if to your point, when does the accountability stop, or when does we interfering in other countries stop? A, presidents like Trump, they can be a full stop, like not start any war. That's what I always liked Trump when he became the president in 2016. He never started any war. He did continue stuff that was happening, right? He never dragged Americans on
So
boots, because the more
right,
we have
mm,
boots on ground, is more also making money for the industrial military complex. But Trump said, hey, listen, you guys want money. They control DC, whether we like it or not. Trump said, listen, I'll go and make deals with these Arab countries. They all have money. I'll bring them to buy weapons. So you're good. We don't need to kill each other to buy weapons. We will just go and I'll promote it. And if you look at the famous White House interview with Salman, he was trying to say, oh, there is F1, what do you call, the fighter pilots, and he was telling Salman about King Salman about how good they are and how nice they are, and he was selling it. If you looked at that
yeah,
video,
yeah.
you would know.
So I mean, it's understanding Trump hasn't started his own wars, so to speak. Actions in
Yeah.
Iran were reckless. They could have potentially led to, they were illegal and reckless, could have potentially led to a conflict, but they didn't so far. The 12-day war remains a 12-day war. Um, but yeah, at the same time, yeah, is it necessarily more moral not to start a conflict, but then to go and sell weapons that are still involved in a conflict? There's still a degree of moral accountability there, no?
Well, accountability. Yes, the moral accountability is that's what I always tell, right? America has to stand on the right side of the history. That's what we're talking about. Where are our moral values? And moral accountability, well, it's a hard it's a hard line to think about it. And I don't think in this world, if you want to be the superpower leader, you can always be morally judged. It's hard. You can't be the leader of the free world at the same time be 100% moral.
Yeah, and I think that goes back to what we were saying about also about power corrupts, right? If you're the most powerful country in the world, there's
It's also corrupted country in the world.
yeah, there's going to be instances where you abuse your power, you try to use your power for X, Y, and Z. impose your will on others. That's just natural. That comes with, unfortunately, that just comes with the territory. Like you said, I don't think there will ever be a 100% moral superpower. That just isn't really how human society or humans are. You give someone the ultimate power, they're not going to always be the most responsible. But I guess in this case, it's the lesser of two evils, I guess is how we have to look at it. But yeah, sometimes I just wish it wasn't like that. But that can be just naive, right? That could just be naive Christian when he was 12 years old, and my thoughts coming up again. But yeah, it's a very unfortunate situation, right? But
It
again,
is. It
also
is an unfortunate
easy to
situation.
judge from the outside, harder to judge, I guess, or harder to act from the inside. I don't know. I've never been on the inside, but yeah. And also regarding, I just want to touch upon what you were talking about, America's defense industry. And so I think I shared this with you a few weeks ago, and I don't know if any of the viewers know this YouTube channel called Smarter Every Day. One of my favorite YouTube channels. It's this American guy from the south of the United States who just makes these great, fantastic educational videos with like an emphasis on engineering and really great videos. So he has this video where it details his journey to try to produce a product in the United States, and it's a simple product. It's a grill scrubber for when you do barbecue, right? You clean the grill
Oh
after.
yeah, I know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just like a couple pieces of metal components slapped together and to clean your grill. And it sounds super simple, right? And it's super fascinating to watch how hard it was for him to produce a 100% American product for something so simple. And it was just to highlight how quote unquote anemic American manufacturing has become. But then I look at the American defense industry, and it's like the most advanced in the world. And it's like bar none, right? Hugely lucrative industry. We produce some of the best weapon systems in the world, and we have a serious competitive edge. So I just wonder, how can it be we can't even produce a barbecue scrubber as a 100% American made product, but we're like leading the world in instruments of death? It's just funny.
Well, that's an interesting question because if you look at it, that's what people say that we it's easy to go get a product in China than here to make something. You can always get stuff done, and I think why, because there's more money in the defense industry, and it doesn't mean that we are just because there's more money to for evil, if you point out in that way, how we could see. And they always make a lot of money, and it's part of our budget every year, how much we invest on weapons and
Big part of the
massive
budget.
destruction. Yeah, big part of the project. And our GDP is like 35%, I think, that our where we make money. So but that is where I always, but it's not there forever though. I just wanted to make that clear as well. A lot of other countries are leading with AI and with technology. America is kind of far behind in a lot of things right now. That's what I like about Trump, because he says America first, make in America, because it was why, it was cheap. So people were ready to, again, we go back to capitalism. That's the that's the tiny bit of part that I don't like about capitalism. You go and find out for a cheaper price. The reason why they have made all the laws harder here, because they know, or regulations, if they make something here, then it would become, we should pay, people, companies will be forced to buy American products rather than buying some, going to China and making for a fraction of cost and still make money out of it. So it's all about money.
Yeah.
So then, circling back, Trump is trying to now enable a lot of regulations, deregulations. I'm hoping there's
Right.
no more
Sorry, I don't
innovations
want
and
to
more technology.
interrupt you, Saffron, but just to keep on track with the subject of, I think maybe
Yeah.
we can discuss this in another podcast because there's a lot to
Yeah,
talk
but no,
about, right?
you asked me
Yeah.
about why I think it
Yeah.
is, because cheap. It's cheap to
Cheap.
go to another country and build it and make, you can make more money. And then in military industrial complex, they always make money because it's part of our budget and it's taxed, and they always make money. So that's why they are interested in having high performance weapons, and also those weapons can be sold at a very high price to other
True.
countries.
Yeah.
ROI is more.
Yeah, but moving on, I just want to also ask you another a hard question, if that's okay.
Yeah, I mean, go
Regarding,
ahead.
so maybe like some of this post-conflict discussion or conflict resolution, perhaps. So something
Hmm.
that figures into the conversation is some of the United States' kind of proposal to take over the Gaza Strip. So I think you indicated your support for an American takeover of the Gaza Strip, and also like affirmed your faith in President Donald Trump's ability as the third party in the best position to resolve the conflict. Correct?
Yes, because yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So I mean, from myself, at least from my side, I do have some misgivings about this. Namely, because I think you also mentioned right in the last podcast, there's a strong red line, right, about relocation of people in Gaza. Like that should not be part of conversation regarding any sort of conflict resolution or post-conflict situation or American administration of the Gaza Strip or whatever, right? So I'm having looked at some of the proposal from before. It did seem to involve, at least from what I read, some potential for relocation of Palestinians. And even as recently as like 2 weeks ago, Trump was telling Israel to quote unquote to finish the job. So I'm just wondering from how do you see America and Trump's ability to rectify this war? Is it too late to do that? To quote unquote finish the job or like
What do you
how do
mean
you
by finish the job?
yes,
Like what?
I think the reference there I think was to sort of just wrap up the conflict, wipe out Hamas, and basically continue as they were, but to accelerate, so to speak. That's my understanding. So it's not necessarily like a view to sort of like to resolve the conflict, but rather to just finish as is, so to speak.
Well, Trump plays 4D chess. I don't know if you have looked at it when he
Sorry.
navigates the 4D chess. He plays 4D chess. How he navigates and he brings people to the table, and he's the deal maker. No doubt in it. He's successful in his career making deals, and he has become more successful in making deals in today's with other countries and stuff like that, with the economy, with the tariffs. If you see the tariff wars, everybody's coming to the table. Hopefully it works. We have so far generated $135 billion. They're expecting in the next 6 months to a year, if this goes well, this is going to do great to America. The question that you have asked me is that, well, Trump has higher leverage on Israel, and America per se has a higher leverage on Israel. And I don't think that leverage just comes with the price. For that leverage has a price, and
Right.
America needs to play the side. Of course, America is going to play the side of Israel. Of course, support America will support, and America should be supporting Israel, because they created the with the help of Americans only, they created the land. The Israel, the country, was created. In terms of how Trump this whole plan should work out, one, I think they should rebuild Gaza. They should not reallocate people, but take out all the Hamas leaders, the main people, and some core militant group, demilitarize them. And maybe I'm also okay if they go in and just wipe out Hamas people and take back Gaza over along with Arab allies. Why can't the Arab allies countries join? That's what my whole argument is. Why don't they say, you know what, Trump, let's do it, President Trump? They all are good friends with him. They can say, you know what, let's do it. Like Saudis, the Qataris, the Emiratis, they can all go and say, you know what, let's do this. Why aren't they coming forward? Why aren't they pushing him? Or why aren't they saying, let's work together? Because he likes gold and he likes everything. If you look at the White House right now, it's filled with gold and stuff like that. He
Yeah.
likes this
They're on the
glamorous.
same wavelength.
Yes, they're on the same wavelength. I think they should use it, and they should take Gaza over. I'm strongly in favor of America taking over, because that gives a protection for people of Gaza, that there will be no any other interference by Israel. And then you add in the Arab countries coming in, so that make sure people in Gaza they live in Gaza. They don't go to another country.
Right, as I understand, right? Rebuild Gaza, but don't relocate the Palestinian people. So
Yes.
American administration provides protection, have the cooperation of the Arab countries. I think
Yes.
no Hamas, of course. So five key things, and I think on the surface this all sounds great and good, but
It's doable. I
does
think it's
that
doable.
potentially? But does it fit
It's very
into a
doable.
two-state solution as well, or would this be like
Correct.
American territory? What would you think?
I think it should be a two-state solution. I think America should be part of that process, and America has to be, because we have always stand on the right side of the history. That doesn't mean we are flawless. I feel like we need to be the leader here, and America needs to lead the way in finding peace between Israel and Palestine. As much as we love America, as much as we love the Israelis, we also need to be on the right side of the history, not innocent Palestinians be killed in this destruction of war.
Um,
So I think it will be really more rightful that America takes control of Gaza along with Arab allies, not letting other people in, completely demilitarizing them, and West Bank too. Abbas and the PA is just complete bullshit. They don't know what they're doing, and they also need to be dismantled. And there should be a third party,
and this would
and there should be a
be
third
a transition and to inevitable Palestinian control, or
two-state Palestinian solution where they would be live side by side, and then, as I mentioned in the previous discussion with you guys, that they could make Jerusalem, that whole part, as international territory where they all can go and they all can worship. There's no either is it Jewish, Christian, Muslims. They all can go. Maybe they can divide it into three pieces and they all can go. Can and then, well, if the UN still exists by then, they can still go there and have peacekeeping forces and they play some role in it. But apart from that, I think Trump is the only person right now who can force the Israelis or the government of Netanyahu to come to the table and give them the statehood. None of anything else is going to work out. We're going to get into the other
right?
part of the discussion, like,
And
France, UK, they
yeah,
all
yeah.
recognizing. None of them is
So
going to. It's just move. I believe it's just the a political move, just saying, oh, we are in favor with all these things. They're just making some, what do you call it? They are just making virtue signaling,
right.
basically,
So about
trying
that.
to,
So first of all, I mean, I think the audience, you're certainly welcome to leave your comments and views or your views in the comments, because I think many people have their own opinions about this topic, and we're certainly open to hearing about them. But as you said, Saffron, virtue signaling, right? So that's something I wanted to touch upon. My last question to you. So as we know, right, France and several other countries, I believe UK, Canada, have indicated that they will recognize Gaza. So it's something we discussed a little bit in the last podcast. And as I mentioned last week, personally, I support recognition of Gaza in principle. But at the same time, I don't always see the practicality of that, because as long as Israel and the United States do not recognize Palestine, the situation is unlikely to improve for the Palestinians. And you mentioned this paramount role that the United States plays in as this third party. So what I really want to ask is, what can France actually do for Gazans, France and other countries, beyond this kind of symbolic and political act of recognition, it's virtue signaling, so to speak? So, like, if a country like France genuinely cared, right, about alleviating starvation, what is stopping them from actually forcing aid into Gaza, like today, tomorrow, next week? God forbid, next week, because at this time people are starving. We're talking about hours and minutes matter at this stage. And let's think hypothetically, right? France is a preeminent naval and Mediterranean power. Israel does not match France at sea, and at air, they're relatively comparable in air power. So, if France decided to land and distribute aid from the sea, what is really stopping them aside from the threat of the Israeli blockade? So, if Israel would decide to attack a French aid convoy en route or on site with aid distribution, that would be, I mean, we talked about the stupidity of the October 7th attacks. That would be Israel's equivalent of stupidity. And remember as well, France is a NATO member. So it only further exposes their intentions as well. So, like, my question to you is, if these countries really care, what can foreign nations really do to help Gazans aside from just virtue signaling or saying, we strongly condemn this or we strongly condemn that? Like, your condemnations are not helpful. Like, what do you think people can actually do practically?
well, I think they have already distributed food. I think Canada and UK and France, they all got together and did one big distribution. I think they could do more.
Well, they
And
have
in
to do
terms
more,
of
right?
stuff, yeah, they have to do more. And in terms of what they could really do is that they could have, said, they could have also come forward to take up this Gaza humanitarian process. They could have just, gone put people on boots, and they could say, you know what, we're gonna distribute food, and they could have done that. I don't know why they didn't do. I think it's all virtue signal. None of them really want what they say. and it's just they're trying to gain political attention. I feel like the only process right now matters to Israel is how what America says. If America says give them all food, they will give. If America says don't give, or if America doesn't say anything, they just keep on continuing what they're doing. And today I was listening to Mike Huckabee, the ambassador, the American ambassador to Israel. He was talking that they have already sent food, but the food was stolen by Hamas. So this is the point where like I could believe him because they have done that in the past, right? And at the same time, you could also send more food. So that's the whole argument that he I could have. So in terms of how these countries could force America, they could say, you know what, we're gonna stop all the trade deals with America. They can force America into forcing Israel to get into a two-state
To do like
solution or rebuilding
a
Gaza.
reverse. So
Yeah.
Trump tried to have
Yes.
leverage of their trade deal. Now they use that
Yeah, they
same
could
trade
also have
deal.
leverage on them because, as I mean, it's all politics, right? They're all playing chess, right? You just play the way you want. Why? They're afraid because, again, people don't understand. People can bitch about America, but America still stands stronger. America is the superpower in the world. There's no deniable fact about it. And every other country needs America for their survival, whether you like it or not. They have been strongly embedded in their system of generating money and manufacturing weapons and peace and international processes. They need America. There is no, you can always come up with this crap, whatever the argument you could come out, but America has very
Well, I
strong.
mean, one thing I've noticed having been abroad for quite some time now is that I think people need the United States less than they used to. And particularly, for example, economically, China fills in a lot of gaps now, both in terms of products and investment. There's a lot more that can be unpacked there, but I would say like the United States is definitely its influence is waning for sure, both its soft
Yes,
power
of
and its
course, yes,
economic influence.
it's it's not steady as it was before back in the 90s or early 2000. But one thing I can say is that we are the largest consumer in the world. So always remember that United States is the largest consumer of the world of any product. So if you don't want to sell in America, if you don't want your products in America, good luck becoming a rich country.
Well,
Because remember, all Americans spend more time and more money than any other country people. I mean, except for Mexicans, they also spend a lot of money. But how they have they there's a saying, nice thing, right? Americans live to work and Europeans work to live. Americans work to live, and it's the other way. Something, there's a nice word that they
I
say.
think the first
So
way you
we
said it
spend.
made sense.
That's,
Yeah.
yeah. That's why we always live paycheck to paycheck. Have you seen any other country that people are living paycheck to paycheck? No, because we spend a lot of money. Americans do overspend money. Americans spend more money than an average person from another country. If my salary is, if I'm making 4 grand a month, I spend 5 grand. That's
Yeah,
that's
that's
that.
kind of the ethos of
Yeah,
American
look at,
consumerism, isn't it?
yeah, every American has an iPhone. It's going to be costly. Where would you see every person on this planet, or like most of the people, losing high tech stuff in America? If you go to any parts of the country in America, we have a lot of
But
technology.
you'd
A lot of
you'd be
people are buying it.
surprised how ubiquitous technology is these days. Even in less developed countries, in rural areas, you still find people with maybe secondhand iPhones or whatever, but they still have
Yeah, yeah, I'm not,
smartphones.
but no, I'm not saying in terms of cost, brand new things, in terms of brand new stuff coming
Yeah.
out. We are go to Grok and ask which is the highest consumer market in the world. Which country has the highest consumer market? Like, where are the people buying? Like, no any other country. We can maybe China is next to America, like you said, but it's whining. I'm not saying it's there forever. And that's why I always say no empire is immune of destruction,
Well,
and
that's just
everything
history.
collapses
Inevitably, yeah. I mean,
inevitably.
there will be a
Yeah.
day, inevitably, the United States is not the superpower.
Yeah, there will be, and I think we are going towards it, and we need to make some good decisions. I think so, but
But I
this
think,
is
and
my.
part of that calculation is we need to make right decisions. And you said right side of history, right? We can't be the country that claims to be the moral authority in the world and then be directly involved in a genocide. It's not equatable. Like I said before, this makes me very uncomfortable how close we are. Because on top of every other atrocity the United States has committed, genocide is quite unique in recent American history in terms of our direct relationship to it.
Well, I mean, we don't know yet if it is a genocide. Again, I mean, you can always come up with this name. Once they let the media in, we can find out maybe it's a genocide. You never know, right? And I feel like America has standed in the right side of the history, but not every time. We have gone back and forth. And but every what is the American dream? Crossing the ocean, climbing a mountain, and going and building what you want to build, right? Everybody
Well,
wants to come to America.
I would
Why?
argue it's not climbing a mountain, it's buying a Ford F-150 and revving it up and
And
driving it up the mountain, but
yeah, whatever.
or with
Like
an
I'm just
ATV or a
kidding.
dirt bike or something, but
Yeah, dirt bag. So think, but if anyone, that's what I always argue with my friends. If you are given an opportunity tomorrow to come to America, what would you say? Yes or no? That answer, that question, and the answer to that question says a lot of value of
yeah,
where we stand as a
that's the
country,
thing.
where we
Like,
have.
I think still a lot of people are going to say yes, but that's also waning too. And you're even seeing a lot of Americans like myself going abroad and being perfectly content and comfortable, happy with what I can get abroad as well. It's not. I think the American dream is also on the decline, which is a bit sad too.
Which is really sad. I think when was the last time we founded something? When was the last time we invented something? It's been really bad. America has declining. I wouldn't sit here and say, we are getting better. We are getting worse, and we are declining in terms of innovation. We are declining in terms of becoming the leader of technology. We are also declining in terms of keeping our own people in the country because of regulations and taxing too much the people. They all wanted to leave to be, tax free. And the biggest problem I see is homelessness. That's another big topic we have to talk about. So there's a lot of things that this country, it's going through. I think it's going through a learning curve, and I think this is what I always tell people. Next year, we enter 250 years of establishment of this country. We are just starting to walk, and once we become an adult, and once we become the country, it's all learning curve. You
Right.
know,
So
it took very little time for us to eradicate slavery than Britain. So, FYI.
yeah, and let's just hope as we grow up, we're not shaking countries around like the toys as a kid and throwing them around the room. That we actually have a little bit
We
more,
already did that. So it's part of the learning curve.
we
Don't do
have a
that. It'll
little
come
bit
and haunt you
more
back again.
hair, right? As an
Yeah, I
adult.
mean, yes, it could. An adult, being an adult. And I think I feel like we are on the right track. And I think President Trump I, has, he has been the right president at the right time. That's all I could say. And I think he can be the only person in solving the crisis between Palestine and Gaza in Israel. And he can be the only president that can bring both parties together and also bring Arab countries together to sign the Abraham Accord, like the other countries that haven't signed the Abraham Accord, and be the person that unites everyone. And I think he can do it, and he is capable of doing it.
All right. Well, let's hope it's not too late at this point.
No, I mean it's not too late,
And
yes,
I
but
have
looking at
many,
Gaza, man,
many,
it's
many
just
of my own
destruction.
misgivings about Donald Trump. We can maybe
And
discuss
has he
that
been
later,
right?
but I hope to
Well,
be
hold
wrong.
on a second. I want to ask you what's something you thought like, oh, this is not gonna do, and then you're like, wow, he did it. Oh, like he's going on the way, at least in the right direction.
I can't personally say that I've seen, at least from what I read and observe, that anything really in my understanding of correct is going on the right path. But I will
Okay.
say, fundamentally, I don't disagree with many of his fundamental policy principles. For example, American manufacturing. Sure, great, why not? I have very different opinions about immigration than the Trump administration, but I do think we need more control over immigration for sure. I mean, that's all well and good, but of course, the way that they're doing it, I have a lot of misgivings about that. But also, I
Yeah.
mean, things like, I mean, make America healthy again. Sure, I can get on board
Oh
that.
yeah,
Just, I don't
that's
necessarily
going
agree with the
great.
way they're doing it, but I can get on board with the
Yeah. Oh,
fundamental
you don't agree on the
principle.
vaccine part.
And like, make it America first, right? Yes, the president's job is to serve the country first and foremost. So in principle, I don't disagree with that. And then other things,
Finally, you're getting
no more
back. You're
foreign wars.
getting
Like I
you're
agree with
getting
that.
you're getting closer to becoming a right or center right.
I think that's just common sense, right? But it all
Oh
comes
well,
down
oh,
to
wow!
how
Look at
you
that.
implement.
You're talking common sense, the core of common sense.
Well,
That's what President Trump said.
an appeal to common sense that makes Trump popular, as I think you mentioned before. So there's also
Yeah,
appeal to common sense, as in the common person's understanding of things, which is not always the best in a democracy.
I know. But
But
he's also pretty straightforward, right? That's what I like about him. I like the most fun. I have the fun is that last week he was on the top of the roof and shouting. They were like, "What are you doing, President?" I'm just taking a walk. He's just being that was.
but imagine if that was Biden, right? They would tear into him saying he's a lunatic, an old demented
Well,
guy
yeah,
on the
I.
rooftop, and
But he's also making Biden wouldn't make this as a fun. He would be
yeah.
serious,
But the thing is,
right
the
in the
president
top.
isn't supposed to be about fun, right?
Well, I don't think so. In today's day and age, I think president has to be some funny. He's
I mean,
also a
like
human.
Obama tried
It
his hand
connects
at
with
humor and stuff, and like it's fun and
Ob-
all, but like I still
Obama.
want
Now,
the dude
Obama
to
was
just
the
do his
biggest
job.
liar.
Yeah.
People at the second term, people knew how big liar he was. So he wasn't like that big of a famous of being more friendly and joking around. But Trump would say something stupid which any other person would say. That's what connects. Obama would make it nicer and say it, but Trump would just say
But
right at
we
you.
need something right in the middle, right? Someone who can speak
I don't,
well, but also be, I mean, dare I
well,
say,
Chris.
intelligent or
Well, I think after working with having a lot of engagement with the UN and other international organizations, I don't think it's not fun. It's always being sweet and in the middle. It's too glamorous. It's like the Hollywood. So
what I mean by in the middle is, I mean, you take the best parts of both things, right? I'm not
okay,
saying being a diplomat, so to speak, just like arriving in the middle by taking the best of both bits. And I think that's
okay,
ultimately,
I get that.
what
Yeah,
people should strive for. But um, what do I know? I'm just some dude sitting on a mic and on my chair in my kitchen area, my dining
sure.
area. But
Anyways, guys, so I think we're good to wrap up.
yeah,
You got something? Yeah. Okay. Well, anyway, that's a good wrap up. And well, the innovation of the day. Chris told me to say something. We'll research about it. So I'm gonna say what I think it's the best thing for you guys to focus on right now. So AI is hugely growing, and look at the investments that you can do to get into AI, especially with technology that funds or channels energy sector, because right now we need a huge amount of energy to power all these data centers that's going to be built and that's being built in this country or any parts of the world. So if you want to look at a higher ROI, return on investment, try go looking up at stocks that's more, what do you call, energy field, or go to an ETF, go to any hedge funds that they have energy sector, big energy pool where you can put the money in, or like they would divide and fund it, put it for you. So in terms of that, because there is a higher risk of higher need of energy, I want to talk about the Gen 4 nuclear power plant, which is one of the best nuclear power plants so far, generation 4 nuclear power plants, which is zero waste and completely needs a higher less for the to generate react, and it's completely self cooling down and meltdown process. So I want you guys to look it up and have an idea how your country, wherever you are, can force your government to invest in it. And China is doing big nuclear 4 reactors, which is how they're generating power. Gen 4 nuclear 4 reactors. And the last thing I wanted to say is that invest on companies that are more focused on AI, and have your idea go through if you want to make money. The new ones are the old ones, but anyways, that's my take. Well, thank you guys again for joining, and let me know whether let us know whether we did good or bad, whether where we are, and we are not experts on any topics, but this is what we wanted to say. And my heart goes out to everyone. It's not about Palestinian people or Israeli people, for both of them. And I feel like you guys, I mean, it's time to wrap things up and stop people dying. That's one thing. And at the same time, also doing the right thing. And you don't have to support any other person, but make sure you do the right thing. That's a key important thing. You anything to say, Chris?
No, I think summary. Yeah, I mean, my heart goes out to, and we're all just people trying to do our best in the world.
All right, guys. Peace out.